This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hey! Hello and welcome. It's Party Loaded, episode 113 in the year 2018, Tuesday night, 30th of January, the year of our Lord Elon Musk, the flamethrower merchant. So, did you guys catch that during the week? I should introduce you all first.
Enthusiasm.
So much energy.
Fantastic intro. I love it.
It's the most bizarre thing that happened this week, and it was just stuck in my mind for some reason. So anyway, Christian's here.
He went full Hank
Jam is
Scorpio.
here. Ollie is here. Hello, everyone.
And confused.
Yes, hello.
You're confused. Well, maybe Christian can explain it then, because you know down on top of what I'm talking about.
You might actually know more. All I saw is Elon Musk selling flamethrowers as part of his boring company thing.
Yeah.
That's all I saw.
$500 flamethrowers.
Yeah.
And then
They look really cool.
he was tweeting a whole bunch of stuff about it being like the perfect sort of, safeguard against the zombie apocalypse. And the thing that I loved is that Randy Pitchford from Gearbox actually tweeted him back and said, no shit, if you have the design for that flamethrower and like a quote that you're willing to put next to it, we will put this fucking thing in Borderlands 3. I was like, that's awesome.
And it's made $5 million already.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. Flamethrower merchant Elon Musk. Did not see that one coming, I got to admit. Anyway, so, video games and stuff. We got lots of games to talk about tonight. I thought that maybe we would start with one tonight that has been a slow boil, like a tantalizingly laborious lead-in to Ollie actually getting to the Res Evil 7 DLC. So apparently we have an update. I have it on good authority. So what's going on?
Yeah, I actually played it. That probably helps.
Nice.
So yeah, I finished the last one, which revolves around Zoe. And, well, actually, I say it revolves around her. You're not playing her at all. You're playing another guy who's, I won't say who it is, but it's introduced last minute. But the style is very different. So essentially with the last two DLCs that they've released, the one focusing on Chris Redfield and the one involving a family member, they're very action-paced as opposed to survival horror. So Chris Redfield was a lot of like, punching dudes and shooting dudes. This one is, you're just punching monsters in the face and throwing spears at alligators.
Okay. That seems like Resident Evil.
I shit you not. Like, you're a boxer guy and you're just like, I'm gonna punch these monsters in the face.
Are they at least infected alligators?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're throwing small tree trunks through them as opposed to spears, I should say. It's very
Bizarre.
Painkiller-esque in that regards. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like it really fit narrative-wise. So I was like, it was fun, but at the same time, story-wise, it could have been better and like integrated better. But I enjoyed it. So yeah, I finally did it. It only took me 3 weeks?
So you mentioned Zoe. Is Zoe one of the side characters from the main story, like kind of fleshed out a bit for this DLC, or is she from somewhere else?
Mayhap.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I played Resident Evil 7 and I can't remember who Zoe is.
Okay. Clearly left an impression on the narrative of the series.
Is she one of like the two people where there's that choice and there's two people there?
Indeed.
Okay, all right. I just forget which one.
Yeah, that was super cryptic.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, I was pretty vague.
No, that's-
Yeah, it was good. I have
Just
no
in
idea
case
what you're talking about.
Jam plays Resident Evil 7 for some
Maybe.
bizarre reason.
One day,
I still
possibly.
want to play this game, but I'm kind of still determined to wait until I get to play it on VR. Like I don't.
So
So what
Yeah.
you need to do then, Luke, is buy a fucking VR set.
don't want to buy one just for that game though.
Buy a PSVR. You'll
Skyrim.
use it for more than just
Super
that.
hot. Res.
Yeah,
Lots
I
of
don't
games.
know.
Christian is listing reasons.
Whatever happened to the days where you could go down to your local video store and actually hire a console for a weekend?
Wait,
I
we
wouldn't.
know
I would
multiple
not.
people.
I would not want to hire a headset.
Yes,
Gunky,
sweaty face,
smelly
sweat,
headset.
mucus.
No, that's a
Ugh.
very good point. That's a very, very
Dude,
good point.
we know multiple people with VR setups. borrow one of them.
Yeah, I may have
So
to do
can
that.
I borrow this for a week?
No, you are right. I may have to do that because I definitely
Yeah, I
need to do this.
just making excuses like I did.
Yeah. Oh, Miamo's got the Pro, but she doesn't have the VR stuff, so I can't really go that direction. But I don't know. There's a couple of people. You're right. I'll ask around and see what we can do. Yeah.
Make it happen.
Absolutely. So, speaking of making it happen, we certainly made something happen this week when we all got a bit excited about a new game. So, let's chat some Monster Hunter World, team.
Yay!
Yeah. So, this became a thing very, very quickly. So, Simo and I were talking about this for a couple of weeks sort of in the lead up to the title, to the release, I should say. So, Simo being a good friend of our sort of outside the show gaming crew. And we basically very, very quickly enticed Jam into the fold.
Yeah, it didn't take much.
No, didn't take much at all. Actually, I got thinking after that happened, like, this game kind of dropped at the perfect time because there's really not a lot else big taking up attention at the moment. Like, we're still in that very low phase of the year where there's not a huge glut of, like, big titles releasing, and we're all kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern. I mean, trying to finish off other games and you know.
For me,
Unless you're into Dragon Ball, like me.
True. We'll get to that.
For
I've
me,
heard
it was
good
a
things.
case of I've been sick for 2 weeks, and Saturday night I started feeling human again,
Yeah.
and was just mad keen to play something new. And you guys were talking about it, so I started installing it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It didn't take you long, actually. Like, there was no significant day one patch or anything, really. So from the
No,
time that you mentioned that you were
quick.
grabbing it, you were on playing in about half an hour, I thought. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
Had enough time to make a cup of tea, get myself situated. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah.
I hadn't played Monster Hunter since Monster Hunter Try on the Wii.
That's the same
I
as
had-
me. That's the last one I played.
Yeah, and I hadn't played that one a whole bunch. I was still a bit under the weather though Saturday night. I think starting at 11 p.m. was probably not a great idea because it was a bit overwhelming with the information at the beginning. And I was
I'm gonna
sitting there
say
going,
maybe.
what? But when I jumped back on Sunday morning, everything started clicking and I started having an absolute ball, especially when I got to free roam and just got to explore and do whatever the hell I wanted. It's just beautiful.
yeah.
The environments they've crafted, oh my God.
Yeah, some good stuff in there. Actually, I've got to admit, like, I looked at a bunch of video and preview footage before going in and playing the game myself, and a lot of the stuff that I saw didn't look that great. Like, I was actually anticipating the game to be visually, like, not super good in the animation in particular. Like, I thought it was going to be a bit jolty and poorly rendered sort of transitions. But when I actually started playing, that was not the case. It seemed to be a lot better than I was expecting. So that was a pleasant
Great,
surprise.
yeah.
Definitely far and away the best looking Monster Hunter game, considering the last few have been 3DS games. So I know all like the diehard Monster Hunter fans are just so happy it's finally like a proper HD game.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of good buzz for sure. Hitting sort of review scores up around high 9s and things. So that was a good sign. But yeah, I'm totally different to both of you. I've never played a Monster Hunter game, so this was my absolute first step into the series at all. I had very little idea what to expect. I kind of thought it was going to be something like a Pokemon-esque collecting game, but with like a open world combat style similar to like a Skyrim or a Final Fantasy 15. And I guess I was kind of close, but there's a lot more to it than that. So, Christian, because you probably got the most experience with Monster Hunter games in general, do you want to just give us to give the listeners a quick overview of what a Monster Hunter game is and sort of what they're getting in for with this one?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess Monster Hunter is a semi-open world monster hunting game, as you'd imagine by the name, where you take quests to hunt, like track down and hunt a new big monster, and then you carve it up for parts and then make better gear to go and fight newer, bigger monsters. And you can team up with up to 3 people online and get like a hunting party together, because some of the like end game monsters, like, you need really good coordination, really good tactics to take down. It is a very like loot grind driven game, so you'll have to like go and kill the same monster over and over again and break off certain parts of it to get certain items you need to craft to make the best new weapon. There are no like classes in the game. The closest thing are the weapons. There's 14 different weapon types, and each one is pretty unique and has like unique mechanics. And your character doesn't ever like level up. It's your progression is entirely in your gear. But yeah, and the gameplay loop is basically like go back to town, craft some new gear, craft some potions, make some traps, get a quest, go hunt the monster, come back, rinse, repeat, do different quests.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really good fun.
With the monster hunting itself, like I found that there was a number of mechanics that reminded me a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn sort of coming in. Like particularly tracking the monster's footprints, which worked a bit different compared to Horizon, because with Horizon you can kind of just light them up and see where the monster's likely to sort of go. But in Monster Hunter, you actually gain experience when you can find traces that the monster's left behind, and that experience gives you a better chance of identifying things in the terrain that lead you to that monster. Because a big part of the game seems to be like actually tracking and locating the beast, and that often is something you have to do mid-fight too, because you might do a bunch of damage to it and then it bails, and often it's a lot faster than you are. So yeah, which I found really interesting. It's like a boss fight broken up into phases, where some of those phases are kind of, you know, going back into the level and trying to hunt for it again, essentially.
Yeah. They usually like have different spots they'll run to, and they usually have a nest, which is like their last place that they'll go to, or where you can catch them sleeping sometimes, and that's like the final spot. One thing I really like in World is those flies. So you basically have like a tracking system of glowing flies that go out in front of you and like lead you to the nearest like object you can pick up or footprint you can investigate. And that's different to the last Monster Hunter game I played, which was just you need to just go and find everything. There's no like tracking system like that. So I'm not sure where that was added in the series, but it makes it a lot easier to track the monsters.
Yeah, it's like a mechanical quality of life improvement that still fits with the theme of the game, which is good. Yeah. So, Jan, what's your experience been like since jumping in? Because I think you probably played a little bit more than me with a bit more time off due to unwellness. So, what's going on?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I've unlocked 2 regions, and I have a ghillie suit, and I'm catching all the big fish. I'm just exploring, mostly. Story-wise, I've not gone too far into Wildspire. Is that what it's called?
Second spot, yeah. You're probably around the same area I am. I just got there today.
I've done maybe 3 story missions there, but mostly I sort of, in between the story missions, I tend to do some bounties or investigations or just free roam fishing and whatnot, catching bugs with my net. It's great. Roasting meat. Just camping and stuff.
It's good to always have your bounty list full all the time, because they're just like side quests that you do incidentally while doing other things. So
definitely talk to research people every time you go back to base.
Yeah, no point in ever having empty slots. So.
And go to the canteen between every trip out too.
Oh,
That's friggin' hilarious. The animation is so good. I love it. It gives you a little stat boost too, and you can set some of your meats to roasting.
For anyone who doesn't know, in Monster Hunter, there's like a race of humanoid cat people called palicos. They're like sort of knee-high, thigh-high cat people, and they like help you out in battle. Like you get one who's like your partner, but then they also run some of the shops, and like they run the like chef place and restaurant, I should call it. And there's an awesome cutscene where the like cat chef chops up a meal for you and serves it, and it's hilarious.
As soon as I saw that, I instantly thought the Samurai Pizza Cats tune just went straight into my head.
I fucking love Samurai Pizza Cats.
And how good's the character creator? I had so much fun.
Oh my god!
I want to make a new character already just to try it again.
I'm not surprised.
I saw that the game director has said that if there is enough people who want it, then they'll add the ability to change your appearance in the game.
Yes.
So at the moment, you can change like your hair style and your facial hair and everything, but you can't actually change your like physical appearance. But they might patch that in, which is cool.
Some people are finding, because it's extraordinarily detailed in the character creator, you've got like a high resolution version of your character's head. And then when that transitions to the multiplayer rendering, it can look a bit distorted for some people. Yeah. So suddenly they look hideous and nothing like what they intended.
I'm a monster.
So that's in response to that. They just want everyone to be happy with their character and not upset when they've got this pimpin' outfit made of some crazy monster hide and then a face that's looking a bit, special.
Yeah.
I tried to make my guy look like Guts, who's the main character from Berserk. And then I've got the great sword, which is, it looks perfect with the great sword going out hunting monsters. It's very Berserk.
Are you liking the great sword?
I am. It takes a while to get used to because you just, unlike other sort of like character action games, you can't just run in there and start spamming the attack buttons. Like you kind of Souls-like in that way, where you have to actually be really measured and careful with all of your attacks. Otherwise, you'll just get bowled over during an animation.
I don't know, man. I've been doing pretty well with double knives, just running in and spamming the shit out of
That's because that's double knives. Yeah, like double knives, sword and shield, you can get away with that. But like even like the long sword, you can't. The great sword, you definitely can't. And the ranged weapons, you can't really do that either.
No, I started with katana, which was fun, and then I tried out the iron bow.
Yep.
But the range wasn't that great, and I've switched to the insect glaive, and I'm frigging loving it. It's so great because I can vault up and fly through the air and land on the beast to start attacking them.
So that's the most complicated weapon.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It looks very Dragon Ball in its aerial combat style, though, for sure.
And I can shoot little bugs. Pew, pew, pew.
That's good. No, I'm enjoying the double knives because I deliberately chose the weapon that fits my playstyle the most, minimum finesse. Just run in and chop shit up. Made perfect sense to me. But I do like the variety with that. I'm going to have to get in and try some of the other weapons too. I'm getting the impression, I don't know if you guys will agree with this or not, that you maybe because of the amount of resources that you're going to need to upgrade your weapons over time, you probably maybe want to select 2 or 3 to sort of focus on and build them up as much as possible. Does that sound like
Yeah, you definitely do, because certain monsters, certain weapons are more effective against them, or just physically the way the monster moves or where its weak parts are, you'll benefit a lot from changing up your weapons.
Yeah.
And when we start partying up properly too, we'll want to probably have a range of options. We don't want to all be close melee, earthbound, so that one stomp wipes out the team. We'll probably want to be able to mix it up, so just balancing it would be good.
Because you can hit your own party members too in multiplayer.
Oh, really?
Oh, yep. I did not know that.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
I haven't grouped up with anyone yet.
I don't think you damage them, but you interrupt their animations, like you knock them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So
that's what's happening to my Palico. I accidentally hit it, and it's like, oh, shit, what was I doing?
Yeah.
No, I had a bunch of time playing with Simo going on one of the early monster hunts, and the multiplayer aspect of this game is fucking fun. It's really cool. Like just, working together and trying to sort of, do the hunt and, whether you split up or not. And, often because you've got a time limit for your missions too, like having both of you trying to take different parts of the hunt, to try and save time, but potentially put you at greater risk in the same, process is a real decision you have to make. So, yeah, it's cool. And I like the SOS function too, where you can be in the middle of a hunt and just sort of send up like a flare to alert anybody who's online to come and help you out, and they can drop in mid-battle as well. That's really awesome.
It's good because monster health does scale with the number of players as well. So you don't just stomp all over monsters by throwing four people in there. It does get more health, which is good.
Oh, wait, do you know if it gets more health like mid-battle? Is that something that happens? Like if someone joins, it goes up?
When people join, as far as I know,
people join, it should scale, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
that's really cool. I actually really like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I think you'd enjoy this game.
I
think you would.
But I would need to buy a PS4.
That is true.
Wait till the end of the year. It's coming out on PC.
There you go.
None of us will be playing anymore.
No, it'll be like Destiny. You'll just go, and restart. Woohoo!
Oh, no, I think it'll be the opposite of Destiny, personally. I think everyone who's played it on PS4 probably won't get it on PC as opposed to, we'll forget about it.
I definitely that way because it's a third-person game, and I'd always want to use a controller, and I don't like using a controller on my PC. So
I mean, it's no different.
Agreed. I have a couple of minor gripes about the game just before we move on. Like, one is that the UI has some things that could be improved.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
the
a mess,
text choice is awful.
It's an improved mess from the previous games, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
Like all the veterans are like, oh my god, it's so much better, and all the new players are like, what the hell? This is a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this garbage?
There's a lot of shit going on. But the other big one is that I had a lot of problems with connectivity, like when trying to join up with multiplayer activities, and I think that part of it was because certain aspects of the game are designed for you to not be able to team up with people. Like when you're doing the story missions in particular, it actually
cutscenes.
You have to do those
specifically cutscenes.
Yeah.
If the other person hasn't seen a cutscene, they can't join.
Yeah, but the thing that sucks is that when you try and join someone, it throws up an error message as opposed to just like a connection error message, as opposed to just outright saying, no, you cannot join someone when they're in this game mode. So I spent a whole bunch of time wondering if I was, having PSN connection issues or if the internet was being weird, without realizing that, no, this is actually a function of the game. It's intended. And that was frustrating. So they could easily fix that. That's a quality of life change for sure, just around communication. So, yeah, but apart from that, the game's really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It's cool. Haven't played it anywhere near enough of it, but we'll get onto some more of that during the week. So, yeah, we all, as we sort of promised ourselves, managed to hop in and do a bit of the Destiny 2 raid lair over the last couple of nights.
Yay.
So, super different. Ollie, what was your take on that? Because I think you had some interesting things to say the other night about how it compared to the main raid.
I really like it. So, comparisons to the main raid, it's linear. There's no sort of like hub area that you rotate through. It's the linear progression. It's a lot more, like the early stages are a lot more team-based puzzles and a lot of team coordination, which I really like. Like it was, because we didn't read up on it. We just went in blind, like, yep, let's figure this out, see how we go, sort of thing.
It was definitely the right choice. It was a frustrating experience at times, but I think it was good to do that for the first time.
It's what makes Destiny fun.
Yeah.
So, and then we got to the boss fight, or the boss area, and that's where it all went to shit.
3 days later.
We're like, smash out the puzzle areas super fast. And like, cool, done. And the boss lair. And the boss lair. And the boss lair. We're like, this is tricky. So we got
pacing a little bit at a time together.
Yeah.
Like, we improved each time, which was good.
Definitely.
Yeah. It was, and this is the comment I made the other night. It's one of the few times I've ever, playing with you guys with Destiny and the group that we have, that I've ever heard people actually be frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, in the raid, we'll be like, oh, this person stuffed up. Nah, it's alright, it happens, sort of thing. Or like, doing strikes and stuff like, oh, I'm down, can you guys get me? Cool, no worries. Like, genuinely at one point I was like, hey, Christian, can you help me over here? I've got 2 Minotaurs. He's like, yeah, I'm busy over my end as well. Like, I'm doing stuff, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like actual frustration, which is it's nice because it means it's challenging. Whereas I felt like the other stuff so far, I feel like a lot of stuff in Destiny is very easy.
Yeah.
And because this is more puzzle based, you can't just go, lol, I have a highlight level, ruffle stomp my way through, which is what you can do for a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
So I like it in that regards that it's forcing out of the box, well, not out of the box thinking, but like extra communication and a lot more clarity and coordination, which is, it's fun. I'm liking it.
Yeah. I had a big think about this sort of after we had a couple of failed attempts at that final sort of boss room. And I think the big difference between that and the regular Destiny raid that kind of made it a more frustrating experience is that the regular raid, I think the pattern of events that happen during those combats is a lot more scripted in the way that you know exactly what to expect and you can get into a definite rhythm with it, where you almost do the same thing each time, rinse and repeat. Like there's very little variation in what the different elements do. Whereas in this one, there's a lot of variation in the cycle and which things light up and what sort of different types of energy attacks you have to worry about and that kind of stuff. I think, that meant that we had to think a lot more on our feet. Communication became a lot more important than in the other ones. And that's where things, broke down probably the most for us because people were all, having different ideas on how to succeed. And that was where things got challenging. But that was the key difference, I thought. So
Yeah, definitely 2 variables as opposed to 1, because normally it's just like, oh, which thing do we go to? Oh, which, thing has popped up, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, what's popped up and where do we need to go? So, we're not good multitaskers is what I'm like.
I think in the main raid, it's like once you figure out the coordination, you can do it. Whereas this, it's like we need to figure out the coordination, but then it's still challenging as well. Yeah. And whereas in the main raid, I don't think it's very challenging as long as you know what you're doing.
Completely agree. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, it's a decent size, though. I'm impressed with how big it is compared to what I expected.
That's what she said.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of what she said, Jam, you played some extra stuff during the week, so what else is going on?
Well, it's 2 weeks since I've been on. I've done some bits and pieces. I played some more Civ with Mibble and Mark. I still adore that game.
Expansion's coming soon.
It's just, it's so good. So good because we're all so sneaky and We're all being so nice to one another on comms, and secretly we're like massing on borders and shit. It's just the best. Played a bunch of Armello. Yeah, Ollie was in on that too for a bit.
I got to try out the Rivals thing.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. You
Rebels.
missed out on the first time we did that, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, so I got to play a couple of them. It was great.
Yeah, I played some of them a bit more. I got to play Fang for the first time, which was super fun. He's so aggressive. And Griot, I'm trying to get better at playing her. I just have to time my trickery cards right. But it's just a beautiful game, and it's too long since we played it regularly. So I'm so glad we're playing it again. I jumped in Overwatch briefly with Memo, tried out the Blizzard World map. It's cool. Nothing spectacular. So we launched our own private game so that we could just explore. And Memo was devastated that you can't reach the Horde area.
Oh, I
You can
saw
run
that.
around the Alliance area with the Alliance flags, but the Horde is like off the lake through closed gates and everything. And the best photo she got was her sort of standing on a jetty with it in the background in the distance. So that was a pity.
Kind of funny, though.
Little bit, but not really.
Funny for everyone else but me.
It's cute having all of the Blizzard references everywhere, all the little different sections that are themed after different games. Like it's fun walking around, but then once you've seen them all, it's just another hybrid map. You know, not bad. Jump back into playing Orisa for the first time in ages. Man, I miss that. Such a good horse. So yeah, good fun. We need to get back to playing more. There's all sorts of skins out with this update that I want. The Diva Cat skin is so cute.
I love it. So good.
It's so cute. I want it. I can afford it. I just have to remember to buy it before the event's over.
Well,
What else have I
this isn't
done?
an event, is it? That's permanent.
Yeah.
Oh, is it permanent?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise. Oh,
all
that
the new
makes me much
skins are just
happier.
added
If you
to the
listened
basic
to
pool.
the previous episode, Jam, you would know.
Nah, I was too sick. Too sick to listen to your shit.
That's entirely fair.
The other thing I did was yesterday I caught a bit of the Sea of Thieves streaming, the closed beta. I don't know what streamer I was watching. I was basically walking past my brother's computer and he's like, Jam, come look at this. And spent a little while watching it, and it just looks like stupid fun. I'm really looking forward to this game. I couldn't even fully hear the audio of what was going on. I was just watching ships sinking, them trying to like get down into the hold and back out with the chests of treasure. They had to search the ship because you can like place them anywhere you want, so it's not in one fixed location, easily discoverable. Shooting themselves out of cannons and missing the mark. It's just looks so good.
So hang on, you can
Like, so
shoot
much fun.
the pirates out of the cannons as well as
Yeah,
cannonballs.
you climb
Oh.
into a cannon and
Did
launch
she
yourself.
stutter?
No, that's what I thought I heard, but I just wanted to clarify. That's fucking cool.
Oh, it's so great. It's so funny. I saw one guy land and turn around to watch his buddy, and then his buddy, like, overshot the island. It was just brilliant.
Away.
And the stream I was watching, they boarded an enemy vessel of just some solo guy trying to do some delivery thing. I think they sunk his ship, and he's swimming around. And next time I walk past my brother's computer, they've recruited this bloke, and he's part of their team. And he's just like roaming the high seas with them because they had a spare spot, and he was pretty cool about it, and they didn't end up killing him. So it just looks like crazy fun muck around. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it.
That's total pirate behavior. I love it. Yeah.
Anything goes.
From what I saw, you might have actually had one of the better experiences with the beta, like actually watching it on stream, because it seems like a lot of people who are playing it had some pretty big problems actually, getting on without the servers shitting themselves. So
Oh, that's a shame.
yeah. But
Well, that's
all
what a
right.
beta's for. Hopefully they fix that. They
Yeah,
extended
yeah.
it by a couple of days to do some more, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
hopefully they're thoroughly testing it all.
Now, just before we jump into news, Christian cooked up something a little special to whet our Monster Hunter appetites as well. So I'm curious to see what he's got for us. So what's going on?
So I've prepared just a quick little Monster Hunter quiz for you all, and anybody listening can play along too. So the way it's going to work, I've got 4 pieces of trivia about Monster Hunter's history of wacky crossovers, because the franchise is mixed together with a bunch of other games in the past in weird and wacky ways. So I'm gonna describe 4 Monster Hunter crossovers. 3 of them are real and actually happened. 1 of them I made up completely. And then we're going to go around, and the 3 of you have to tell me which one you think is the fake one. And, which three are real. So all you need to do is pick the fake. Now, I'll ask that if you actually know if any of these are true or false, like if you've actually played them, hold that to the end, because it's also a competition amongst each of you. So you don't want to give it away if you've actually done it. Yeah,
No risk of that. I have no idea.
So some of these
will
are
be
from
guessing.
Monster Hunter games, and some of these are from Monster Hunter crossovers with other games.
Okay.
So you may have. All right. So we'll get started. So the first one is that in 2007, Capcom teamed up with Pizza Hut in Japan, and for a limited time, every Pizza Hut order came with a DLC code for the Pizza Peel, an in-game longsword that looked like a pizza on the end of a pole. All right. So
Okay.
I'll get through them all and let me know which one you think is fake. The second one.
Okay.
The Resident Evil 5 DLC, Lost in Nightmares, included an Easter egg optional boss fight, which was an infected Rathalos from Monster Hunter. Okay. The third one is that Monster Hunter Generations on 3DS, you had a range of wacky DLC costumes for your Palico, which is your little cat helper, and the costumes included Okami, Ghosts and Goblins, Strider, and Toon Link.
Okay.
And the fourth item is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker for the PSP, included a series of side missions in which Big Boss could track and hunt monsters from Monster Hunter and craft weapons from their parts.
Ooh.
Huh.
So we'll start
right.
with Luke. Which one of those four items do you think is the fake?
I am going to guess the Resident Evil one is the fake. Only because the other games, for me, strike me as the sorts of ones that they'd be willing to mess with and have, mixed IP content in them. So the pizza one is just so bizarre that it must be true. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Resident Evil one. That's my guess.
All right, cool. Ollie?
I'm torn between the Metal Gear one and the Resident Evil one. I'm gonna.
I was torn between the same two.
Yeah. Because the pizza one, like you said, it's so wacky and weird that it has to be true.
And then it's going to turn
And
out to
then-
be the obvious one that's wrong.
And the other one is the cute one, so I'm like, okay, that works. And the other two are like serious business.
Yeah, okay.
Do I go?
Got to pick one.
I do. It's hard, man. It's a hard choice.
I'll help. I'm picking
okay.
the Metal Gear one.
You put it in Metal Gear 1, Jam?
Doesn't help at all.
All right, it does help. I'll go with the Resident Evil one then.
All right,
Brilliant.
so we've got Luke and Ollie saying that the Resident Evil 5 crossover where you fight a Rathalos is fake. And we've
I
got
don't even know what a Rathalos is.
It's a dragon, basically.
Okay.
And
Cool.
we've got Jam saying that Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, where Big Boss goes monster hunting, is fake. So we'll start with the pizza one. That one is true. So they did have a team up with Pizza Hut, and the weapon looks ridiculous. The second one, the DLC costumes, true. So a weird collection to be on a Nintendo console. I thought, like Okami, Ghosts and Goblins. It's very strange. All right, and now the decider. So the Resident Evil 5 DLC item is the fake one.
Yes.
Hey, I was leaning forward in my chair in anticipation. I was like, oh.
So congratulations, Luke and Ollie.
Nice.
Bad luck, Jam.
I put it down to my recent Resident Evil 7 experience.
I put it down to my totally fucking awesome blind luck.
See, what I was hoping would catch you is that Resident Evil is a Capcom game, whereas Metal Gear Solid's a Konami game. So I thought you might have been like, oh, well, Monster Hunter and Resident Evil are both Capcom, so that makes sense.
Look,
I like that he thinks I know this.
no,
That's totally what I was
the
thinking.
Metal
Yeah,
Gear
of
universe
course.
is so bizarre that just about anything could fit in that at this point. So, yeah, that makes
All right.
sense.
I
Thanks for
presume it
playing,
would be
guys.
like actual hunting or like with some nanotech monster or something.
I don't know. I mean, as soon as the Horizon Zero Dawn content, was revealed in Monster Hunter proper, I thought to myself, well, most bets are off, it seems. So, yeah.
Yeah, they do some weird stuff. They got Street Fighter crossover as well. You could like costumes in Street Fighter 5 of Monster Hunter characters.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Given the nature of the character creator, though, you could probably just make most of that stuff yourself. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. Yeah. All right, well, let's kick into some quick news topics for the week. So I'll just rattle off a couple of the ones that relate to sort of release dates that we talked about a few weeks ago. So God of War has now been confirmed for April 20th. Yay! Super excited for that game. There is a new trailer that's doing the rounds, which looks super cool. So that's one that I think a bunch of us will probably end up taking a look at. And Anthem, surprisingly, absolutely none of us, I don't think, has been delayed until 2019. So
Who could have predicted it?
yes, I don't think anybody.
Did you see
was
their
surprised by it.
recruitment recently? They announced some recruitment and they had some hashtags. Come work for BioWare. Hashtag Anthem. Hashtag. Oh my god, what's the other game? Dragon Age. They completely did not mention Mass Effect at all.
No.
I left it out.
I think the most notable thing about the narrative coming out around the Anthem delay is the pressure that's being placed on BioWare, both internally and by the games media and consumers as a whole, because people are expecting this to be a pretty much make or break game for that studio. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that is the case, or whether, because I mean, we know that this kind of pressure is not always good. I mean, that's how, a big part of the Andromeda story went down. Like, a lot of pressure placed on the studio and the team, things get rushed, corners get cut, at the end of the day, it's not a good result for people. So I hope that's not the case with Anthem, but I don't know. People need to see returns on big sort of expenditure in studios like that when it comes to budget time. So, we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of budgeting and big expenditures, the other big story that's doing the rounds this week, and this has been a slow boil sort of creeping up over the last month or so. So anyone who is anyone on the internet these days knows that there is a current boom going on, and there has been a few crashes of recent times as well of cryptocurrency, various different cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin, is doing the rounds in the news just about every other day. People making money sort of trading on Ethereum and all sorts of crazy cryptocurrencies. Companies launching new cryptocurrencies, what seems like every other week. The impact on a lot of this for gamers, though, is now being seen clearly in that graphics card prices are skyrocketing. So a lot of the crypto miners are actually getting hold of GPUs and running them to basically run the mining processes and get their coins, or however that actually works. The science behind it is really complicated. But that is not super good for people like us and people like me specifically, who in the very near future is looking at buying a new gaming rig. So the price of what I want to do has just gone up quite a bit, which is not real good. So
Do we know how big the price increases are?
yeah, there was an article that was posted by Polygon earlier in the week that actually does some interesting comparisons. It was a Polygon? No, it might have been GameSpot actually.
It's Polygon.
Was it Polygon? They did some
GTX 1070s.
pricing comparisons. Yeah,
That's my one. It's my graphics card.
Showing sort of the before and after a lot of the changes, and it's you're looking at basically about a 75% price range or more across the board.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It was
Hang on, 75% price increase.
yeah.
So I'll read out the
my
numbers.
God.
So suggested retail for the GTX 1070 is 380, and last year was selling for 450. Now going for more than 700.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought it was going to be like 15-20%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did some scouting around on Australian stores
Thanks,
today just to
data
see what it was
miners.
like sort of over this end of the world, and maybe not quite as bad, but we're definitely starting to see some of those hikes. So yeah, bummer.
Hey, cryptocurrency.
Major bummer, yeah. So, I am unsure how long that's going to continue, but the cynic in me thinks that maybe a while, which is not real good. So
Just wait for that bubble to burst. Then it'll all come normal again.
well, the funny thing is, it's a great time for console companies because the cost
it's
of
fantastic.
buying your own PC is not great at the moment. So people playing a lot more console games. It's a lot more affordable to get into that sort of scene. So yeah, I don't know, swings and roundabouts. It's an interesting time. But yeah, speaking of console gaming, Epic Games, makers of Fortnite Battle Royale, which of course is pretty well known to a lot of PlayStation gamers out there and on PC as well, has just announced this week that they are shutting down their other game that they're fairly well known for, their MOBA Paragon. But the interesting thing about this story, I don't think the shutdown is the sort of the headline here, because Paragon is a game that probably not a lot of people know about because it hasn't done massively successfully. It didn't set the world on fire. But the interesting thing is that the company has actually gone ahead and offered full refunds of all game content purchased, so the game itself plus any in-game purchases, to everyone who has actually played it as they look towards shutting it down. So Can any of you think of a case where that has happened? Like a company has shuttered one of their titles and actually offered a full 100% refund on everything?
Is this full refund on every purchase or within a certain time frame?
No, every
That's what I
purchase.
was wondering.
Absolutely everything.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, if they had gone and said, anything that was purchased in the last sort of, 3 months, I think that would have still been pretty good. But this is pretty unprecedented. On one hand, I think it's a really, really smart PR move, and maybe it's not as much money as you think if the game was not doing great, because the number of people you're talking about here may, as a result, not be a huge quantity. But by the same token, it does make you think how much crazy money Fortnite is bringing in at the moment for them to be able to afford to do this. So, yeah. They've obviously got their, eggs in one basket, and they're probably focusing on the right thing if that's what's bringing in the moolah. But I don't know. It's just an interesting story. It was, yeah. I mean, the MOBA market, I think, is a tough one. Yeah, I kind of sometimes think about the MOBA market similar to the Toys to Life market, where, you had a lot of competing companies with, Skylanders versus Infinity versus Lego Dimensions and all that sort of stuff. I don't think the number of people in that market drastically increased with each new offering. And I think MOBAs are sort of similar. Like the number of people playing MOBAs, and yes, that is a huge number because you've got some of the most successful video games in history in the form of League of Legends and Dota. I don't think that that sort of market fluctuates a lot. Like when new titles get launched, I think it's very hard for them to gain a foothold.
Definitely. Heroes
of the Storm has had a rough time of it too, and they've launched a second version of the game, which has arguably done a bit better. But even still, it's clear that they're not going to ever catch up to the big two. So
there's a few bubbles like that happen. Like there was the whole survival games bubble back when DayZ was huge and Rust was huge and Ark Survival Evolved, and now they've kind of given way to the arena shooters like a PUBG and Fortnite. And I think that's sort of like a battle royale, I should say. I think that's like a bubble that's happening now.
Yeah. I even think that maybe the success of Overwatch in the previous year kind of primed the scene for that to be a success as well, because people were kind of ready for that to evolve into the next form of multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
But so that was an interesting one. But a really, really big news piece this week, which I actually was keen to chat to you all about, was from Microsoft, of all places. So Xbox One, Xbox in general, actually, have got a Game Pass program. So it's similar to the not to be confused with the Xbox games or Xbox Live, where you get sort of the free game every month just by being a member of their sort of online. It's like the PlayStation Network equivalent, the PS Plus equivalent for Xbox. You are a member of that. You get access to online content for all your various different games. You get a free game or a few free games offered to you every month. That you're a member, etc., etc. The Xbox Game Pass is more like a Netflix kind of model, where you basically pay like a monthly subscription and you get access to play games in the library, sort of directly from their system. So a lot of it is previous generation titles, a lot of backwards compatible games and that kind of thing, a lot of the smaller titles. But the big news out of this last week is that Xbox have announced that all of their first-party exclusive titles are actually going to be available to play directly from the Game Pass service from day one of release. So that means now that you can pick up that subscription and be paying, potentially $9.99 US a month and be able to play a brand new Xbox exclusive release from day one. You could finish the game within that month and then not pay for the next month of subscriptions. You basically pay a new game from beginning to end for $10 if you swing it like that. So, thoughts?
It's cool.
It's clearly a sign of Xbox being a little desperate, I think. Because they're Sony outselling them so massively, and now Nintendo outselling them so much as well. I think this is fantastic. It's almost crazy how good it is, and I think that speaks to the position Microsoft are in.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It's a Netflix model. They're trying to anticipate the next progression of gaming behavior. If you've got people who don't want to get new games regularly and tend to, make one investment and then invest infinite hours into it, you can entice them with other titles. And the tricky thing will be the non-exclusive games. They lose the license to that. Suddenly it's not available when people have progress saved, but apparently you can opt to purchase at a discounted price through this service too. So it's a neat idea. I'm keen to see how it goes. I'm especially excited that State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves are going to be available on release date through this service. What I want to know, and I'm not 100% sure of, is will that allow me to play them on PC?
I don't think so. I think it's different to their Play Anywhere sort of titles, because that requires you, I think, to make the purchase on. I keep on getting this wrong. One of the things that actually shits me about Microsoft, and we'll talk about this a little later, is how nebulous their messaging around the Play Anywhere games have been. Like, whether you buy the Xbox version of the game or the PC version of the game, and that allows you to play on the other one or not. I always get the two mixed up. So yeah. I don't know, but I don't think
that will be a kicker. Because two of those games I can see myself wanting to have on PC for sure, and then maybe also on Xbox. But I mean, for a number of people, for families, this is going to be a really cool thing because of their huge library that they're going to include in this. So it's interesting. It's different.
Yeah, I hope it pans out because it might set up cool future models in as far as that's concerned. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's a neat lead into our main topic tonight. So I'm going to handball over to Christian. So set it up, buddy.
Yeah, so speaking of what Microsoft are doing, I thought that it would be fun for each of us to have a go in the seat of the CEOs for the big three, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. So everyone likes to talk about what they do if they were in charge, or they don't like, Sony shouldn't do this, Nintendo should focus on this instead. And we're going to pretend that you have been handed the keys and you're in charge of the company and you've got to make some decisions as to the direction of the company moving forward. So we'll go around starting with Sony. And so I'll take the first one just for an example of what I'm talking about. So if I were the CEO of Sony, one thing I would be focusing on is a second generation VR headset. So I think that at the moment, the first generation PSVR is floundering a bit. I think that there's some a trickle of games coming to it, but I think the PC VR market is outstripping it a bit, especially with the new Vive that was announced, the wireless one. So I think that Sony should invest in a second gen headset that is wireless and has specially designed controllers instead of having to use the Move controllers, which I think are a little wonky. And I think that could be a real second wind for VR, because I think there are still some skeptics who are expecting VR to fold, and I think that Sony are kind of one of the key players there in making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then as far as their core game studios go, I think it's pretty much steady as she goes. I think that they're doing fantastically with allocating their resources amongst their studios, and I think they just need to keep that escalator of great first-party releases going like they have been, and I think they'll be doing fine. What would you do, Luke? I
thought a lot about Sony, and they were probably the trickiest one for me to actually come up with what I'd do differently. I tend to agree with you in terms of the VR stuff. I don't know if they have to go a second generation VR. I think they just need to keep pushing it. At the end of the day, when it comes to the PlayStation VR, numbers that we have become aware of from speaking to a few different people that we know in the industry is that the install base for PlayStation VR is massive, and they're actually doing very well compared to their competitors, just purely because of the success of the PS4. So there's a lot of buzz at the moment, a lot of it resulting from the Consumer Electronics Show a couple of weeks ago with the new sort of wireless stuff and the next generation of the Vive and that kind of thing. But, I mean, Sony's doing just fine when it comes to VR. I think the thing that's lacking is the game support. There's still, there's a bit of support there, and certain companies have been much better with it than others, like Bethesda being one of the notable ones. But there's still that killer app has not arrived yet. There's still not that one reason to own a VR headset. The closest for me that I've seen has probably been Resident Evil, but that's for me. So, but I think they need to keep pushing it. A lot of people who are skeptical about VR at the moment, I think some of it has arisen from seeing what's happened with the Xbox Kinect, and they're sort of looking at that and going, hopefully VR technology doesn't go the same way. Being a bit of a fad for a while that the company in question pushes for maybe a bit longer than they otherwise should, and then it slowly fizzles out due to lack of interest. And that reminds me a little bit of 3D TVs as well, because that kind of seemed to be the same trajectory for those. I don't think VR will be the same, but in order for it to not be the same, there needs to be a bigger sort of concerted push on it. So seeing more about it would be good. But yeah, I mean, they're doing all the right things as far as other stuff goes, like the exclusive content schedule they've they've got's pretty good. We've got some massive PlayStation exclusive titles that are on their way. You know, we've got God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us 2 at some point. All really big things to look forward to. The thing that I would love to see them do is to improve the PlayStation Store. Because the PS Store is fucking dog shit. It is really bad.
It's better than the PS3 one somehow.
I won't disagree there, but it's. I mean, the fact that it has to load full pages of graphical content to actually get to the information about the various different games, and the browsing is just really not intuitive. That's a big thing for me that I would improve. A lot of the other stuff they're doing seems to be okay. Like the controversy over the last year or so about the crossplay stuff, like Microsoft kind of digging into them and saying, we're ready to support crossplay on all these games, and PlayStation sort of being silent on the topic. Like, as much as it would hurt me as a consumer to say I agree with that stance, I kind of do, because when Sony's in the lead, they don't need to play nice. So
yeah, and Sony's also terrified of security issues on their network because of the hacks in the past, so they really don't want to, open up any doors to other people.
Yeah, there's been a number of those too, to be fair. So yeah, but yeah, maybe give people more of a reason to get the Pro, because the messaging around the release of that was pretty poor. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm landing on it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
What about you, Jam?
I agree for the most part. It's definitely their strengths are their hardware, their exclusive titles, and the accessible VR. That's a lot going for it there, but I want them to attempt to pursue cross-platform.
Yeah.
It has inherent issues, but there will also be solutions. There's a whole lot of silence on it, though. There's not a lot of explanation about why not. So I'm not 100% sure, but it just feels like in this day and age, it's doing consumers a disservice. And if it could potentially be pushing people away from getting a title on their platform if their friends own it on another.
Do you think that as a company they benefit from the stance they're making at the moment, though, or do you think they would actually do better out of allowing it?
I don't know.
I don't think they'd do better. I think that's if they were falling behind in sales, I think they feel more pressure to do it. But I think that it's like a risk, and it could push more sales to Microsoft, because people might go, I don't need to buy the console that all my friends have, the PlayStation, when I can now go back and get my Xbox that I had before, and because I can still play with them. So I think it's the sort of decision that the loser in the battle currently would want to happen, and the winner wouldn't so much.
I can see both sides. It's a tricky one. It's all
sorry, Jan.
I was going to say I agree about the UI being rubbish. The homepage, I heard that there was an update late last year which allowed you to customize your homepage with favored apps and games, and I still have not figured it out. It's so confusing. I want to have my streaming services on my homepage as little boxes to click on, instead of having to go into TV and video and then scroll through the lists of apps to get
all the ones you don't use. Get past Foxtel On Demand and Stan.
All that rubbish to get to my Crunchyroll. Come on.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. The UI is a bit of a mess.
It's Xbox have always done better, in my opinion, for usability when not gaming, to connect with friends and communicate and customize things for your style of entertainment, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
A little more effort in that department would be neat. But otherwise, everything you guys said, they definitely have their strengths and they're playing to them very, very well.
With Microsoft being the makers of the most widely used PC UI on the planet, you'd fucking hope they do it better. Yeah.
Anything to add, Ollie? Anything you'd do?
So I've been doing a little bit of research whilst the discussion's been happening.
Okay.
So apparently something that Sony does, because Sony isn't just a PlayStation product. I know we're focusing on gaming particularly, but we're talking as a company here.
Yeah, you're the Sony CEO.
Exactly. So apparently their mobile business is a bit shit for a while, and it's only recently been picking up, and that was apparently a really big loss for them. And apparently it's only now recently been actually in the black as far as that's concerned. So yeah, it was, if you'd said a year ago this question, it would have been get rid of Sony's mobile industry, which is interesting.
Yeah, I know that for some years now, the Sony computer entertainment, the gaming side of it has been pretty much the only profitable department in Sony. Like their TVs have been hemorrhaging money, and their mobiles have been suffering too. So I like that idea of maybe cutting some of the fat off the company.
A lot of the other
Yeah,
brands,
just a
like the
bit of
TVs and
focus.
stuff, don't seem to carry the prestige that they once did. Like
Yeah.
owning a Sony stereo or a Sony TV, like a couple of decades ago, was a big thing. Like that was kind of the Rolls Royce of the different offerings available. But people tend to go for features over brand with a lot of that stuff these days, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
That being said, I do agree with there needs to be because we have 4K TVs, we need to have a VR that not necessarily is a 4K VR display setting, because at that proximity, good lord. But I do agree, it does need a second generation that's wireless and like not prohibitively expensive. Like that, one of the big things with VR right now is the cost. There needs to be that tipping point of accessibility, because you can just plug into a console and it's wireless and away you go, mixed with that attractive price point. And so you need the attractive price point, so you need it to be reduced in cost, which means there has to be research in making it cheaper and more effective, combined then with there needs to be the game library for it.
Yeah. What I'd like with my idea of PSVR 2 isn't a more powerful system necessarily, but a better functioning one. I want the latency and like the wobble of the tracking of the Move controllers. I want that to be eliminated. I want to solve the tracking issues, make the controllers more like interesting to use and with more buttons on them. As opposed to just having the Move controllers.
make it look like you're actually playing a game and not landing a plane.
Yeah. And it would be backwards compatible with the first generation of games. Because, I don't think it would need to be more powerful necessarily. But iron out the kinks.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
Cool.
that was my thoughts.
Thanks, guys. So next, we'll move on to Microsoft. And I'll have someone else start. I'll have Jam, you start with your vision for Microsoft over the next few years.
Okie dokie. I like the direction Microsoft is taking in a lot of ways at the moment. Their focus on backwards compatibility coupled with the Game Pass is fantastic, because sometimes I see some of the titles that they introduce, as backwards compatible, and I get this wave of nostalgia, but then I think, I don't want to keep purchasing all of these individually, whereas when the Games Pass thing came along, I thought, I think I could handle $10 a month for access at, the smallest whim to some of those favorite titles from way back when, because I no longer have an original Xbox that works. I no longer have a 360 that functions very well. It's doing okay, but it's struggling a bit. And I love that they're supporting their past library like that, because they've had some fantastic games. It's something I'd like to see Sony do better at. I know they've got a bunch up on PlayStation 4 from earlier consoles, but some of the titles I played 20 odd years ago, I'd love to see up there. So I think that's a really good thing and a positive thing. And I'm glad they're focusing on that as a service, because I think it's going to, help draw in people into trying new things. For a low price, they can get tastes of all of these different fun experiences. I also like their progress with their cross-platform capabilities to PC, but it makes sense because it's Microsoft. It's a huge plus for them, because I alternate between console and PC now a whole bunch, depending on who's playing where. So having that option, I always prefer playing with controller for most games.
We've noticed.
You want that sweet auto aim.
Yep, to kick your butt with. And I think it's a really good step, but I agree with Luke, clarifying the messaging around that. Don't be too shocked. Clarifying the messaging around that and being very precise and making it a really easy model to implement, like just really comfortably. At the moment, I don't know how it works. Admittedly, I haven't looked too closely, but I own all of these titles, some on PC, some on Xbox. How do I get this going? I think that's a good direction, but most of all, it's the AR that I'm really keen on seeing them pursue, and I'd be pushing. The development of the HoloLens is incredibly exciting. I am more keen to see that than any other VR headset I've seen, even though they're fun and they look good and I've tried them and they were cool. The AR aspects thrill me. I'm so excited. There's so much potential in so many different ways, not just for gaming, but for shopping, for designing, for communicating. I think it's a wonderful piece of technology. I think they really need to focus on making the HoloLens platform fully compatible with the Xbox and really support developers with integrating that technology into their games where possible, because it's exciting. I can't even comprehend like what you might be able to do with it, because there's just so much potential if you've got a device that's capable of, very easily detecting all of the stuff going on in your environment. Suddenly, all of the stuff in your environment can be connected to your game somehow, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Just the Minecraft alone, the tidbits that they show of being able to play Minecraft around your house. It's amazing. So amazing. So that would definitely be my focus. And it's been a while without a lot of news. Yeah. So that's where I think we're at my call. That's where my focus would be. And I'm sure their focus is there. But I'd be pushing it to get out, especially just to get dev kits out so that people can start playing with it to really unlock its potential.
Okay. I'll throw my vision for Microsoft in now. So I too am very excited for HoloLens, but I'm also very worried about HoloLens. I think that part of the reason it's been silent for so long is probably because the technology isn't as amazing or reliable yet as we'd like it to be. I remember hearing stories from a behind closed door demo for games journalists a couple of years back, and they were saying that the big issue for HoloLens at that point was the field of vision, that in the demos that you see, it looks like you can look all around you and stuff's projected into your environment, but in reality, it was like holding an A4 piece of paper in front of you. Yeah. And that size, that window was where everything was happening, and your peripheral vision wasn't affected by it. So I think that they're probably trying to increase that field of vision and make it more of a wraparound experience, and that's what I would be focusing on is improving making sure the field of vision is as immersive as you want it to be for HoloLens.
Yeah.
And I would, like you were mentioning with applications outside of gaming, I would be pushing that too. And even so far as making it even like a Windows HoloLens as much as it's an Xbox HoloLens.
Yeah.
And making like Skype, HoloLens, have it in museums, have it in like art galleries, have it out at other places people are. I think there are heaps of applications that could be useful there. And yet gaming may not end up being the big focus for it. And that's other than that, I think that all the backwards compatibility stuff is great. It's like a working version of what Sony tried to do with PlayStation Now, where they had their subscription streaming service, and that just kind of bombed. And I think not sure if it's even still going, but Microsoft's way of doing it, where you're not streaming remotely, you are actually downloading the game and you're just getting a temporary license to it. It's just so much better. And like for the Game Pass, and then the backwards compatibility is just great. So keep doing that, and I would also be focusing on the next Xbox, like the Xbox 2 or whatever the hell they're going to call it.
The next box.
Because
the next box. Yes.
I think they're going to want to try and leapfrog Sony in the next generation, and they've done okay this generation, but they are coming second in the race, and I think that trying to focus on the future and come out in first place next generation, that should be a focus too. Cool.
I pretty much agree. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like, for the HoloLens to succeed, it has to be everywhere, basically, for it to be worthwhile. And Microsoft has the reach due to Windows and whatnot to be able to do that and push into all those different realms. So I would love it to do that and make AR a viable common thing. So for me personally, I would like Microsoft to make a Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn killer, because at the moment they don't have that. They don't have the equivalent of Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, you're like, cool, bring out another Halo, yeah, got them Destinies, woo. Like, they don't have games that are just all round amazeballs like that.
Yeah.
So I would like that to be a thing, but otherwise I pretty much agree with what you guys have been saying. Like, they need to have that games library, the backwards compatibility, more desktop windows with console compatibility, so you can just be like, yep, Microsoft game, here we go, playing Destiny on the Xbox and on the computers, this is great, Destiny 3 is awesome, that sort of thing. Like, I would like that.
What about you, Luke?
All right, controversial view time. I actually don't think that the secret to Microsoft's imminent success is around pursuing VR and AR at all. I don't think that's the way to go. So, like, look, as a consumer, I'm excited for the prospect of HoloLens, but the impression I get is that I think somebody mentioned already it is way further off than maybe we would think.
Yeah.
Yep. And I also don't think that, like, if I'm talking about console specifically, I don't think that it's going to be settled to the Xbox at all. I think it's probably going to be more of a broader Microsoft operating system thing, so more for Windows-based computers when they do finally look at launching something. But there's a big reason why I don't think pursuing VR or AR is the answer, and it kind of comes to... The point I'm going to make is that for a long time, Microsoft has sort of been kept on the same benchmark as Sony. Like, it's been those two going at it forever. Like, when you talk about the console war for the last few cycles, it's been Microsoft and Sony. And last cycle, it was definitely the 360 that was basically winning hearts and minds with its focus on, the home theater and entertainment sort of, in the household kind of thing. But this generation, Sony's got the clear lead for a bunch of different reasons. The biggest one probably being their library of exclusives. What I think Microsoft actually needs to do is take more of a leaf out of Nintendo's book, of all things. And there's three key things that I think Nintendo's doing very well that Microsoft could sort of take on board and start doing to give them a point of difference. So the first thing is that I think that they need to be different to Sony. Like, they need to... This Netflix route that they've been going down with the Game Pass stuff that we just talked about before, that's a good example. Like, I think that is different to what Sony has going for them. It's a point of comparison where you can look at Xbox and Sony and go, Sony doesn't have anything like that. It's not like, we're comparing two services that are similar. It's that Xbox has this, PlayStation does not. So that's a good example. Like, they need to think of more stuff like that really sets them apart and makes them unique, which is why I think one of the reasons we'll get onto why I think Nintendo's doing so well at the moment, because the Switch is totally unlike everything else there. The other couple of things I think they need to do, and Ollie hit on this pretty well, when it comes to Microsoft exclusives, they have a big exclusive problem at the moment. Like, the number of good exclusives coming out on the Xbox is a trickle in comparison to what's happening on PlayStation and has been since...
I definitely agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a big problem. Like, it's one of the biggest reasons for people to buy, like, a PlayStation over an Xbox, because if you know that, some of the coolest games that everyone's going to be talking about, you can only play on that system, of course you're going to buy a PlayStation. But the issue with Xbox more than anything is that it's not just the quantity of exclusives, which are notably down, it's also the quality, and that's exactly what Ollie was saying. Like, there's no big console seller games that really grab your attention and go, you must own an Xbox because of this. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn's a good example, Last of Us, another good one. There's a whole bunch of games coming out this year that will be good examples of that, you can point to. Xbox needs, like, those big titles. They don't need more exclusives. They need good ones. Like, not rubbish. Like, not fucking Quantum Break or whatever that was. Not like, what was that other one that had the spheres or whatever last year? You know the one I'm talking about.
Recore,
that one. Like, who fucking gives a shit about Recore? Really? It's just, it's a trash exclusive that didn't set the world on fire. No one cares about it. Microsoft kind of, beat a dead horse with that one by remastering it and bringing it out again because it's one of the only ones they've got on offer, but no one really cares. They need stuff that will attract attention, and there's only so many times you can release another Halo or another Gears game, so they need something new and they need something that's going to set the world on fire. But the third thing I think they could really benefit from is that they need to take a leaf out of Nintendo's book and take control of the news cycle better. Like, I think that Microsoft could actually benefit from doing stuff away from E3 and Gamescom and some of those other big news sort of drop points of the year and have their own cycle for releasing information out into the world about what they've got going on, because they need to have their own platform that sets them apart. So, what Nintendo does with the Directs, like something similar to that, I think could actually benefit them a great deal. Again, just to sort of drive that barrier between them not being the same as Sony. And, they can set their own agenda with what information they're going to let out and when, what they sort of tie it into. Like, they create what narrative they want to have and sort of, take charge of that news dump as opposed to just letting it bleed out throughout the year. That could really be a good thing for them. So I think all that stuff would do a much better service to them than, just going after the AR stuff that, people have sort of known they've been working on for a while. So they need to be different. Yeah.
It's a shame that Nintendo already have the term Direct, because a DirectX would have been really good.
Oh, yes.
Microsoft could have done DirectX.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would have been a master class. Yeah.
I have a potentially even more controversial opinion that I'd written down for Microsoft, but then decided at the last minute to go in a different direction. But I had sell Xbox division to Amazon for a massive chunk of money.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
I was thinking Microsoft just cut Xbox, sell it off, and focus on Windows and PC, and get into the game business more than they are.
Yeah.
You know what the rumours are in the last 24 hours, though? It's along the lines of what Luke was saying. There's rumours that Microsoft are looking to acquire game developers, publishers,
That's
that
cool.
they're shopping around. So I think they do want to grow their library of exclusive games and trying to figure out how they can do that the easiest way with money.
I don't think it'll happen, but think about how much of an edge it would give them if, say, Borderlands 3 was an Xbox exclusive. That would be a good example.
The rumours
Yeah,
are
that'd
they're
be
looking at
huge.
EA and Valve, among others. Like,
Yeah.
there's huge rumours going around. I don't think any of it's substantiated, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if they're looking to push their exclusive content on the Game's Pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be a steady income stream if they can get steady quality releases on that, with a lot of people signing up for $10 a month.
Yeah. Speaking of steady quality releases, let's move on to Nintendo, the last of the big three. So first up, we'll go for Luke this time.
All right, so I love Nintendo. You guys know I love Nintendo. Out of the three at the moment, in terms of unrealized potential, Nintendo pissed me off the most. I'm just going to say it. So, like, they have had a fucking remarkable, like, last 12 months. Like, the Switch has been so good. Like, better than anybody expected. But the ongoing narrative with Nintendo for me is that they still are missing some of the basics. They need to get back to basics in some areas. And the ongoing theme with Nintendo is they need to get with the 21st century. So things like the social features on the Switch, they need to address that. Like, get rid of these fucking friend codes. This is like something that we did decades ago. Actually have a dedicated sort of friend, sort of, community social system on the platform that enables you to get in touch with people and actually talk to them. None of this bullshit that you saw with the Splatoon, headset set up with the
app
different
thing?
adapters and stuff. Oh my
It's a
god,
monstrosity.
Look
It's
at
a
that
war crime.
diagram. Yeah, exactly. It looked like an absolute abortion of technology. So it was terrible. But it's basic quality of life stuff. They need to get on top of all of that because they can be a really competitive product with dealing with some of that stuff because Nintendo games are extremely social by nature. I think the fact that the Switch is built off the idea of sharing controllers and that kind of thing, you're not always going to have the people to be able to play in the immediate room as you, but the game's still designed to do that. So if they have more of an online sort of functionality that is more user-friendly, I think that could really go a long way to improving what they're trying to achieve. So that's a big thing. But I think that in terms of coming to grips with the 21st century as well, like they need to start looking at social media and content creators as not the enemy and actually something they can enable their brand much better with. And examples that I can think of immediately are the YouTube Nintendo content creators program that they've got. I forget the exact name for it. It is an absolute travesty. Like how many hoops they make content creators jump through to actually, be able to publish Nintendo related content and not have to, hand over a sizable chunk of their advertising revenue to Nintendo. That's why you don't see a lot of it, is because there's absolutely no money in it. Like people just don't do it because it doesn't, pay the bills. Ignoring the constant issues that are going on with YouTube at the moment and the adpocalypse with a lot of people losing revenue because of them sort of tightening up on the advertising requirements. That all aside, like Nintendo makes it even harder, and that's why you just don't see it. So,
Question.
yeah.
Have they explicitly said why they do that?
I honestly think that a lot of it is just a long-standing cultural sort of thing.
I think it's just a very conservative company, very conservative cultural company.
Yeah.
Okay. But they haven't out and out and been like, we're doing this because X.
It's protecting their intellectual property.
Yeah.
They worry that people who are publishing videos with their characters, even if it's just like a commentary video, they're like, oh, they're still using Mario, so we don't want that to happen without our permission.
In a lot of jurisdictions too, if you're not actively protecting your IP on a consistent basis, then you can lose grounds to protect it against a particular individual.
But what
down
about
the
every other
track.
game company then?
Well, the Japanese ones, we've seen a bit of a theme with this. Like, I don't think Nintendo's the only one. Like, another really good example was what was happening with Atlas when Persona 5 came out last year. So Atlas published these guidelines for people doing streamed and VOD content for Persona 5 in order for them to not get DMCA'd. And it was fucking ridiculous how many restrictions they were placing on them. It was like, do not show this stuff. stuff. You're not allowed to show any content after day X in the game. You're not allowed to show any of the key story elements and that sort of thing. And it was ridiculous. And like the general, populace of creators out there, and probably rightly so, just, revolted against it. And it wasn't a good PR piece for them. They eventually relented and sort of eased back a fair bit and, regained a bit of, public image as a result. But it was still a bad look for them initially, and it really spoke to the cultural divide. So I
appreciated that though. Like a short-term embargo on certain content, because
for like spoilers and things. So that was their justification.
Such a spoiler-heavy game. I would
whether or not
hate to have had any of that spoiled.
But my view is that if you don't want to have that sort of stuff spoiled, you don't go looking for it.
Don't watch the Twitch streams.
Exactly.
But if you exist on the internet, shit gets spoiled.
I don't know.
People can avoid Game of Thrones spoilers 6 months down the track. You can avoid Persona 5 spoilers
that's
for a couple of
very
weeks.
small proportion of the population has successfully
It's bigger than
managed
the
to
Persona 5
avoid.
crowd.
Yeah. Look, I mean, granted, I recognise that all of this stuff is a double-edged sword because, actually being in charge of your own IP, and again, I mean, Nintendo, one thing they're very strong at is controlling the news cycle and controlling their own messaging, because they really do lock all that down very, very well. Like, there's a lot less leaks when it comes to Nintendo properties than just about everything else out there. But I think there's got to be a bit of give and take, and I think they're just way too sort of tight with that stuff. They need to loosen their grip just a little bit. So
I'll just interject. Listeners,
no, you go now, Ollie.
Okay, I was going to say very quickly, and I apologise for sidetracking. Listeners, if you know why, because it seems to be Japanese companies, if it's a Japanese law thing, can you let us know? Because I'm actually really curious, because it seems to be mostly Japanese companies. So if that's the case, can you let us know? Because I'm actually kind of curious as to why those companies particularly are doing it. That's all.
So what's your plan for Nintendo?
My plan for Nintendo is more crazy shit.
Yep.
Like, I feel like gaming, yes, it's becoming more mainstream, but at the same time you have all these like, grr, I'm a gritty Call of Duty Black Ops Special Forces number 3 Skulls Ultra Edition, GTA 6 where murder stomping prostitutes while we jump out of planes, shooting backwards. It's great. And you have all this
description of that
Oh my
game
god.
like, I apologize, but you get my point. But it's all very, I hate saying this, it's all very serious business. Whereas Nintendo seems to take the view of games are fun. Like, I know those games are fun, but games are social. Games can just be these wacky, fun things. They don't have to be photorealistic graphics where you can see a man's brains explode across the screen, or these prostitute boobs jiggle slightly, except in Australia because we don't like sex in video games apparently. All sorts of stuff. So I like that they're basically going, yeah, games is play. You play with games. Remember playtime? It's cool. And so like the new stuff coming out with the cardboard, I'm like, Labo, thank you. I couldn't remember the name. It's clearly well marketed towards me. I like that they're doing that sort of thing. Like they always have this Nintendo is about fun and play. It's never like, yeah, this is a serious console for serious people who love shooting things very seriously or driving things very seriously. Like they never really tout themselves as that. And it sort of shows with the aesthetics of the games that regularly pop up on them. Like everyone was like, wow, Skyrim came out with a Nintendo console? Like that was weird.
Dark
People were like,
Souls.
cool. Yeah, like people like, that's like cooler because I can now play it on my Wii U and whatnot, or Switch. I'm like, at the same time, everyone's like, that just feels off. Like the flavor wasn't sitting right. So I like the way they're going, and I reckon they need more of that.
I must admit, every time I
that's just
see
me.
something like crazier and crazier come out from them, like the Labo ad's a great example, I do find myself each time just silently fist pumping. It's just,
Well, here's the thing. Like, if it doesn't work, okay, yeah, they'll lose a bunch of money and whatnot. But at the same time, if that works, can you imagine the precedent they'll set up
yeah.
of cheap, printable, motion-controlled games? Like, that's fantastic. As far as, at that point you go, cool, you don't need necessarily to pump money into AR and VR game development. You go, cool, here's this interactive style of gaming instead.
Yep.
That potentially is more immersive.
It is genius.
So, it's a very clever bet. I don't know whether it'll work or not, but I think it's a very clever move. The other thing was a bit of a retrospect is when they launch their next console, have more than one fucking game in your like starting lineup maybe.
Now you say that, but
Breath of the
how well has
Wild-
it worked out for them though?
No,
It
like
worked pretty
I know.
well.
It worked out amazingly, so clearly I don't know a fucking thing about business because I don't run Nintendo. But I imagine it would have gone a lot better had they had at least a couple more, maybe? Question mark?
I don't know.
It's hard to be better than the fastest selling console in America.
No, exactly. Like, how do you improve on that? But at the same point, I felt like initially before that, there was a moment where it's like, everyone's like, seriously? That's it?
Yeah.
What? And everyone's like, no, Breath of the Wild is amazing. Go buy it. And everyone's like, okay, great. Whew. But there was that pause. That was when it first came out. I was like, seriously?
The thing that made me realise that they'd picked the right game to launch with was when I looked at the stats of it and saw that they sold more copies of the game than the console.
Than the actual console. It has like 102% or 103% pickup rate, which is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same point, that was, again, Nintendo does these risky gambles that seem to pay off. So I'm I like what I'm seeing. I wouldn't change much. That's all I'm saying.
Jam, anything you do different?
No.
No?
I agree.
Nintendo?
I love it.
I agree. They're constantly innovating. They're sort of family and kid focused, and their first party IP is fucking phenomenal. It sets them apart. It means they're less of a direct competitor to Xbox and Sony because it's just they're not playing the same game. They've made their own rule set, and they're just kicking goals. Like, it's amazing. And I would just keep doing. If I got made the CEO, I'd hand it right back because they're doing great.
No, I know what you do.
Great.
If Jan got made Nintendo CEO, she would give herself a Switch so that she had a Switch.
I would. I'm serious. I need to get one.
Probably go too.
They're doing bonkers great. I love when I saw the Labo thing. I missed your discussion last week, but oh my god, I was a child again. I was giddy at the thought of, oh my god, there's all these things and you can decorate them and then you can do things and then people will be programming their own software with their own cardboard shapes to do their own cool stuff, and it's going to be educational. It's going to be fun. There's just like this amazing little idea has these really cool applications, and it's delightful. And I want them to keep thinking outside the box and innovating and surprising and delighting everyone because that's what they do best.
You know what I'd really love to do is when Labo releases is actually get the four of us together in a room and just play with it all together. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It'd be fun. Mm-hmm. So my final thoughts for Nintendo, I agree with everything you guys have been saying, including you, Luke, with the loosening up on content creators. I'd also like Nintendo to experiment with more stuff outside of gaming. Like, they've got their partnership with Universal Studios. They're going to be having like some theme park rides. I want them to look into maybe more children's programming, do like a new Mario or Zelda Netflix cartoon, Netflix animated series, something like that. And also I want to see Nintendo partner with the for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. I want lots of Mario stuff at Olympic time.
Hell yes.
Yeah. Because at the closing ceremony, they did where they have like the feature of the next country. They did have Mario there. So I want to see some cool partnerships there. But yeah, I think expanding outside of gaming, becoming more ubiquitous in children's minds, other than just games, and more take some of Disney's pie. I think in kids' heads. Yeah.
The more stuff they release to flummox us, the better. That would
because I remember there was a rumor like a year or two ago that they were doing like a Netflix live action Zelda series, and that got proven wrong. But I was like worried about that because the rumors were that it was like live action and gritty. I'm like, no. I don't want that.
No.
I want like happy, fun adventure for kids. Yeah.
Gritty and Nintendo just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, I would agree.
For the most part.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
that was awesome. I really enjoyed that chat, actually. I think that's a good precursor to the rest of the year, too. So now we can actually look out on the stuff that happens in 2018 and see how close to the mark we may have actually picked some of these things that we would do.
Horribly fucking wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, E3 is going to be super interesting in a few months' time. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. It's going to be a very telling one this year, I think. Looking forward to that. But anyway, we'll wrap things up for tonight. And if people want to get hold of us, Jam, where can they do that after the show?
They can mail us, mail at partyloaded.com. They can find us on Facebook, Party Loaded, on Twitter at Party Loaded Show, or on YouTube, youtube.com/channel Endgame, or just Google us because Google works. Google is good.
Mm-hmm. Google is good. So, quick round the table because we're running late. What's everyone playing this week? Ollie, go.
No idea.
Cool. Good work. Christian, what are you
I
doing?
genuinely don't know.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter.
More Monster Hunter, absolutely. I'm super keen to maybe pick up Celeste for the Nintendo Switch, so that new
That's
platform.
been getting amazing
Actually,
reviews.
I think I know what we all have to play. Party game of the month.
Oh yes, we have to play
Yeah,
some
that one.
Lancelots.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Also, there's a new The Room game out, the puzzle games,
Ooh.
on iOS. I'll probably be checking that out at some point.
I did hear
Love
something
those
about
games.
that. Yeah. It's end of month for Hearthstone, so it's a good time for me to play something else on my phone for a little bit.
Oh, did you see the balance changes, Luke?
I did.
We won't talk about
I
it,
did.
but
Well,
yeah,
we
I'm
won't talk
happy
about
it.
Oh no!
A bunch of cards got
Two of
nerfed.
them.
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Anyway, so that's what's on the cards, and that's what we're doing until next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.